Today's episode is supported by the Pittsburgh Book Fest, paging all readers. Book it to the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh in Oakland on Sunday, May 30th for the 5th annual Pittsburgh Book Fest. Created for book lovers by book lovers, this free event features programming for all ages. Hear from award-winning authors like Stephen Rowley, Catherine Newman, Daniel Kraus, John Scalzi, Meg Medina, and more. Learn more and register for free at pghbookfest.org.
Today's show is sponsored by Liberty Magic, Pittsburgh's premier speakeasy theater dedicated to the art of elevating magic. This time, they're bringing in a hometown magician, Paul Gertner, and his show, Steel City Miracles, is a love letter to growing up here in Pittsburgh. Each trick performed in the show is an original from Paul, and he's widely recognized as one of the best sleight-of-hand magicians in the world today. And if you want to ask Paul questions about magic or just want to get nebby about his favorite Pittsburgh sports, upgrade to the Skeleton Key VIP experience for seats in the 2 front rows and an exclusive meet and greet after the show. Steel City Miracles runs from May 21st to May 31st. Get your tickets at trustarts.org/magic before they disappear. This is CityCast Pittsburgh. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Colin, Sophia, what should Pittsburgh do with the draft clock now that it's down?
I think it's time for countdown to Anthrocon. I think we need to... I think we should make it a fuzzy clock. I think we,
just put a costume on it, put a fursuit on it.
Yeah, put a fursuit on it. I love that.
That was my immediate thought, was just like, we need to count down to Anthrocon, and we could maybe make it fuzzy. And I think boom, done.
Okay, I think Colin wins. I was just going to say, tuck it in for storage because, when we talked to Jeremy Waldrop, other officials, they seemed really hopeful that we would be bringing the draft back. So seems like we'll use it again in a few years, maybe. Question mark? I don't know.
I think at a minimum, it has to go to the History Center, right? This is, we've got so much sports memorabilia. It definitely needs to be preserved.
I mean, I think that's the real answer. They're not saying yet, but I think it actually probably is either going to go into the Heinz History Center, or maybe it's just in the PDP storage locker. I learned over the course of all of this downtown nonsense in the draft is that they have a heck of a storage facility, which includes the giant mechanized pickle that you can ride like a bull. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
don't they have that in Market Square?
They have to have places to put that in the off season.
Oh, I assumed the pickle was rented or something. I didn't know
we
they
owned
it. Pittsburgh, bring it out in public, make it a year-round thing.
Yeah, I feel like this calls for some sort of street fair with the artifacts of yore.
Yeah. Downtown Partnership. I know some Ians listen to this. I want to take a tour of the storage locker. Not even kidding. I am with CityCast producer Sophia Lowe and CityCast Pittsburgh contributor and City Paper managing editor Colin Williams. Today we're going to be talking about our region's unfortunately sort of sleepy primary election. Y'all, I am forever disappointed in our electorate that literally 75% of Allegheny County just declines to participate in democracy for the primary. Colin, thank you for shaking your head. We're going to talk about Pittsburgh's very contentious affordable housing overhaul. It's coming back up for discussion, but it's not mandatory anymore. Plus, as always, we've got a local win, a loss, and a thing to know. We will be talking about a baby lion.
Oh, I'm obsessed with her.
The videos are just so cute. It is
I haven't seen the video
too much.
yet. I'm going to save myself. That'll be my treat for the end. And on today's members only segment, we are talking about all the nice things that will be available to us starting this Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be gross outside, but there's still good stuff coming. So if you aren't a member yet, please subscribe at membership.citycast.fm and you'll get access to all of our new Friday bonus segments. So today's and all the ones in the past. We'll kick it off with the election. Colin, I know you've been following this one.
I have to say, I was out at the beginning of this week soaking up some sun at the beach, which was really nice. So I voted by mail. And when I opened my ballot,
that counts.
I did vote. I always vote. I haven't missed an election since I lived in another country, and that was a primary. But I have to say, like, in all of those elections, some of them just aren't really that exciting. And this one was really not that exciting. There just wasn't that much choice. In our closed primary system, obviously only Democrats can vote for Democrats and Republicans for Republicans. So that left very little for independents to weigh in on.
But there was a ballot measure. They had a thing in the city.
Indeed, yeah. And that was, I think, maybe the only real result here that was like any sort of surprise. I was frankly surprised at the results showing over 80% of voters saying yes to this. The ballot question was a very narrow amendment to the city's home rule charter. Basically, for those who missed it, the city would be allowed to post certain notices online instead of in a print paper of record in the event of a lack of a paper of record. So this bill kind of originated in the potential collapse of the PG. Over 80% of voters, though, think that it's a good idea for the city to be releasing these things digitally in the event of this lack of a paper. So that measure is now enshrined in law.
I would argue, well, it's enshrined in the city charter, which is also subject to state law, which means that this could now be like they could get sued over it because they oppose each other in a way now. But I would argue like every ballot measure is so confusingly worded because it's legal. Almost all of them pass with very rare exception, unless it like we're asking voters like, do you want to raise your taxes? Like something that straightforward. They almost always pass. Like, so to me, this does not read as 80% of Pittsburghers fully understand what this means and think, yes, it's a good idea. It's 80% we're confronted with a really confusing question. We're like, I don't know. Okay.
80% of the 23% who voted.
Correct.
And
Exactly.
also worth noting that, these percentages and numbers are technically still unofficial. The county is starting to count official results today. But, I don't expect the final numbers to be all that different.
Nah, they probably won't deviate too much. We also had a result with our county council president, but not related to his seat on county council.
Right, because he was running for a seat in the Pennsylvania House.
Yeah, Pat Catena, who had been campaigning for this statewide seat that would have been a very similar district to his current county council seat, got pretty well trounced in his primary, honestly. So this followed a controversy around a transphobic mailer that his campaign sent out. He apologized for this, as we've discussed on this show. I also, by the way, there was a really gross letter to the editor in the PG that was defending this mailer as some sort of like valorous standing on principle when it comes to women's sports. But that clearly is not the viewpoint of the majority of his voters who turned up for this race. Brittany Blome, who is a lawyer who's been running on a platform of being a working mom, netted about 63% of the vote, while Catena only got about 37%. So it was an interesting race. Public Source dug into this a little bit. The fact that this wasn't really just about the flyer. There's also just differing, I guess, strategies around campaigning. Blome was very out in the community, knocking doors and that sort of thing. Whereas Catena, I think, was just sort of banking on name recognition. And that just doesn't seem to be something that really carries people over the finish line much these days. So
I doubt at this level. Like, it's one thing if you've got like the name recognition of being the governor of a major state versus somebody who's like a congressional representative or something. Like, that's different. For your county council president, like you gotta get out there. Most people are not following those meetings on a regular basis.
Right. And I think most people sometimes even forget, like, I bet if you asked most Allegheny County residents, they wouldn't know how many total counselors there are.
But in their defense, there are too many.
Yeah, fair. But so Blome is going to be going to face a Republican, James Julius, who is an AI company founder in the November general for that PA 45 seat. It's been held by a Democrat for a while. So if the midterm momentum behind Democrats holds, then it looks like Blome has a fairly easy shot to the State House in Harrisburg.
And then moving to the federal level, U.S. Representative Summer Lee won the primary. She beat perennial candidate Will Parker, and she got a little over 81% of the vote. Like, I feel like Summer Lee's a pretty popular candidate. Like, people I talk to really like her.
She has name recognition.
Yes.
She has a lot of name recognition, and I feel like on past versions of the show, we've discussed, is she going to be primaried? There were rumors around various names in the Pittsburgh Democratic scene kind of challenging her in a primary race because of the unpopularity of some of her stances, allegedly, but it doesn't seem like those stances are particularly unpopular if she's getting this thumping majority of the vote this time around.
Right.
And it seems like what people are really valuing here is that she's in the community. She's brought home billions of dollars at this point for things like infrastructure and local development projects. But more broadly, I think like what's happened in this election is that it was another strong showing for Democrats, even with low turnout. Democrats got the most votes in 26 out of 27 races that people got to weigh in on in the county. There were thousands of write-in votes for some GOP campaigns. So PA Representative Arvind Venkat, who represents the North Hills district, drew about 3,200 write-in votes for a potential Republican challenger in Libby Blackburn. So there is some GOP enthusiasm, but we're just continuing to see really strong results for progressives and liberals here in Allegheny County.
I mean, around write-ins, I'm also curious whether Mastriano will have turned out to have gotten any significant number of votes. He had a write-in campaign to take on Stacey Garrity. Of course, she won. This is the Republican primary for governor, to run in November. But I want to know how many people wrote him in.
I wonder if the announcement that he's an ambassador now changed it. They were like, never mind, he's got his own thing going on now.
According to CBS 21 Harrisburg, the write-in campaign persisted through the election. So it seems like there's still some support for this idea that Mastriano is better than Garrity somehow. I will say, for my part, if I were to make a recommendation to Doug, go to Bratislava. It's a beautiful city. There's lots of good food and stuff to do.
Colin's planning his itinerary.
Yeah, honestly. With or without Doug, it sounds like.
Yeah, with or without Doug, it sounds like it's going to be fireworks in November. I mean, Stacey Garrity has been laying the groundwork for a pretty bruising campaign versus incumbent Governor Josh Shapiro. So I expect those attack ads will be running any day now, right?
Honestly, that's the thing. I keep seeing people being like, yeah, just wait for November. And I'm like, we're not going to have to wait for November. Unfortunately, we're all probably going to get hit with these constantly. Although last time we talked to anybody about this, Garrity's war chest was not that big yet. So I don't know how much of a defense in terms of the digital campaign she's going to be able to put up, at least in the short term, unless Donald Trump and his allies decide to start supporting her, which at this point, they really haven't put much money behind her campaign.
That's a good point, because Shapiro is a champion fundraiser. He has a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Garrity has certainly been trying to work her way into those good graces, but it feels like it's a crapshoot as to whether or not you can get Trump's undivided attention in matters like this. I mean, we're seeing, of course, in other states.
Well, attention doesn't matter. It's like ponying up. There's a difference between having an event at Mar-a-Lago, which she did, and getting money from that effort.
Oh, last but not least at the federal level, John Fetterman, our senator from Pennsylvania, allegedly a Democrat, has lost his third chief of staff since 2023.
Yes, not election related, but still, I think, very relevant for the moment, because he's not up for re-election until 2028, but I expect we're going to get news of an official challenger at minimum by the end of this year.
I mean, Connor Lamb has been teasing this online for quite some time. There's been rumors around PA Rep Brendan Boyle. So I think
Bob
that there's
Casey, somebody put out something about how he was exploring a potential return to office.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't know if that's real, but I think that's what Fetterman and his choices, his votes, have put into the ether, is that now there's the overwhelming and widespread discussion of who's taken this guy on in 2 years.
Yeah, that is going to be a really interesting and I feel like very long and protracted primary campaign. And can I just say, in sum of all of this, I am already sick of the attack ads that we're going to be seeing later this year. PA just continues to be such a volatile place to do politics. And I really did not miss the deluge of ads that we got during the 2024 cycle.
It's coming back any day now, Colin. I got bad news for you. Today's episode is brought to you by Steal Hers Social, presented by UPMC Magee Women's Hospital. Y'all know, if you listen to the show, I am a huge sports fan. I am always down to chat with women who love football, who love the Steelers, just because, first of all, y'all have such strong opinions and you make them heard in male-dominated spaces. So if you're looking for that kind of community, mark your calendars for Steal Hers Social on May 28th. It's taking place at, of course, Acrisure Stadium, and you'll get the chance to peek into the locker room and run through the player tunnel, get access to all these behind-the-scenes spaces. There's even a player meet and greet and an opportunity to hear from women in sports. They've got raffles, giveaways, face painting, bingo, If you like to get crafty, make sure you stop by that button and bracelet making station. The event is open to women and girls of all ages, and as a CityCast listener, you get a $5 discount on the $55 ticket. Use code CITY, C-I-T-Y, and buy your tickets now at universe.com/steelhers. That's Steel, H-E-R-S. Today's episode is supported by the Frick Museum and Gardens. You know, you can't talk about Pittsburgh history without considering steel magnates like Andrew Carnegie and Henry Clay Frick. And whether you are a history buff or just starting to explore this era, visiting the Frick Mansion, aka Clayton, is a great way to really see some of those stories up close. The Frick's Gilded, Not Golden tour takes you into Clayton House and back to 1892, which is the year of the Homestead Riot, an assassination attempt on Henry Clay Frick himself, and the year that the Frick family was mourning the loss of 2 children. The tour really digs in to topics like wealth, inequality, labor, and so much more. And even if you've been before, Gilded Not Golden is great, and their tours are really special. Each one gets updated to highlight new bits of the house that maybe you hadn't even thought of before. Plus, late spring and early summer are the perfect time to visit Clayton because after your tour, you can wander the grounds, really take in nature. It's such a beautiful space, and when it's freezing outside, sometimes you may be rushing from A to B. No need to do that right now. You can sip on an iced drink from the cafe and check out all that's special about Clayton in Pittsburgh's East End. Tours of Clayton run Tuesday through Sundays. Get tour tickets and learn more at thefrickpittsburgh.org. We are moving to inclusionary zoning. If you have listened to this show for even a minute, you know we've been talking about Pittsburgh's affordable housing plans for, God, Sophia, 2 years now, I think?
Don't ask me about time. It's slipping away.
And now there's a new evolution headed back to the City Planning Commission here very soon. So we thought we would start with a very brief history lesson.
Yes, so a lot of this really got started mid-2024 under our previous mayor, Ed Gainey. So he proposed a bunch of housing policies at once, but the biggest component was this mandatory inclusionary zoning that would be required citywide. So inclusionary zoning, I know, sounds big and scary, but very simply, it just requires developers to reserve a set percentage of new residential units for low to moderate income households. So in Pittsburgh, that would mean developers would be required to set at least 10% of their units to be affordable in buildings over 20 units.
So we're talking about bigger spaces. If they have 20 units or more, then this applies to them. And there are neighborhoods in Pittsburgh where that's already a thing. Lawrenceville, Polish Hill, I believe a part of Oakland, and I'm forgetting one.
Bloomfield.
That's it.
Yeah. So this wouldn't apply to duplexes. The part that got the biggest pushback was the citywide element. So City Councilor Bob Charlin proposed his own version of an inclusionary zoning bill that would have every neighborhood choose if they wanted to participate. The Planning Commission voted that down, and they said at the time they just couldn't get past how each individual neighborhood would decide that. You know, we have 90 of them. Things get complicated. People have different opinions. But then, Gainey loses the Democratic primary, so he's not there to push this legislation anymore. And then
he was there, but it very much was in limbo. Yeah,
exactly. And then a few months later, Councilor Erica Strausberger presented what she called not inclusionary zoning. It's a voluntary incentive program.
Yeah. So what we're talking about today is those incentives, or at least kind of the evolution of what she presented at the time, which was kind of going into the holiday season. So these are incentives to get developers to include affordable units, but there's remains critics and supporters on either side of the actual minutia of how this would get done.
Yeah, the current proposal it includes a number of kind of different elements from what Gainey was proposing, even though the spirit is kind of the same. It's basically up to developers. And in this case, kind of follows on what some critics alleged was a very developer-friendly campaign by current Mayor Corey O'Connor. Under the current proposal, developers could include affordable housing units, and if they did, they would get benefits like being able to get zoning variances to build higher buildings in neighborhoods where maybe that's not allowed. They would potentially be able to build more units and denser configurations of units. And they would have to agree to keep them affordable for 35 years, which I think is an improvement on some past proposals of like a 20-year overlay. The developers who choose not to include affordable housing units would instead basically just pay a surcharge of $25 per square foot that would go into kind of an affordable housing fund that doesn't exist yet. So it would need to be created. It would require a whole separate legislative process. One interesting thing to me is that it doesn't apply to downtown. This current overlay would not apply to downtown housing units. There are a lot of conversion projects underway in downtown that are going to see affordable units coming to First Avenue. There's another, actually, City Paper's former newsroom is soon going to be a development that includes lots of affordable housing units. But one thing I love about this proposal that was floated as part of the early ones is that it would eliminate minimum parking requirements.
I'm so excited about this too. This is citywide.
YIMBY people have been crying about this for forever. It is so silly in a city as dense as Pittsburgh to have parking minimums. It was also a big part of why developments like Lawrence Hall took a really long time to open, because there were disputes with neighbors about where and how and what kind of parking to build. Getting rid of that requirement just eases the process of development of all different kinds. So I'm stoked about this one personally.
Just to kind of back up about like that minimum parking thing, like most of those rules were set in like the 1950s, like expectations about how many parking spaces any given space has to have when it's being built. And so many places here in Pittsburgh are required to include them regardless of whether there's demand for them, regardless of whether the location allows for it, which can be really frustrating when you're trying to get something online. Like, and we're talking about things like apartment buildings that have to have like a certain number of spaces per unit, offices that have to have them based on square footage, and even like restaurants needing them based on seating capacity. And that's the one that like absolutely throws me. Like, it is hard enough in the city to open something like a restaurant where you have like so many complicating factors as it relates to zoning and getting like health inspections and stuff like that. And then you also have to make sure you're prioritizing a set amount of space. Like, it just makes so much more sense to eliminate the minimum so that you can encourage things like walking to the restaurant and like riding a bicycle, taking transit. And there's still going to be caps, which is kind of a good thing. Like for like a huge development, there's still like a maximum number of spaces that will be allowed. It's just there's no more floor. Like, it's possible that the number can be 0, which is great.
So many of these rules feel like they were designed for like Eaton Park, but not for Lilith. And I feel like the current version of Pittsburgh is really in need of density-friendly development policies. And this is something that I actually, when I covered Action Housing's annual meeting last week, Mayor Corey O'Connor was very vocal about wanting to get rid of parking minimums and really wanting to just ease the path to more kinds of development. That having been said, there are some housing advocacy groups that are a little sour about making this voluntary. You know, there are a lot of corners of Pittsburgh that under Gainey were very in favor of a mandatory overlay. And the worry here is, of course, that rich developers would just kind of throw money into this potential fund instead of actually kind of building inclusive developments. So the public will have a chance to weigh in on this. There's going to be a hearing coming up in early June. It is, I believe, the same night as the county's hearing on paid parental leave. So
correct.
Kind of pick your battles here a little bit.
The public hearing on for this affordable housing incentive starts at 2. So, assuming it doesn't run super long, because the inclusionary zoning, like the actual inclusionary zoning, not the incentive program, when it originally went up for a public hearing, that lasted 11 hours.
Yeah. So I guess it's possible if you sign up very, very early for the inclusionary zoning one, you could speak your piece and then bounce and go to the county meeting and speak perhaps in defense of or against the paid parental leave policy. But you really got to pick your battles that day.
I will say that the housing hearing is hybrid, so you can also participate via Zoom. If you want to show up in person, it's going to be downtown. It's at the Housing Authorities building. That's on Boulevard of the Allies. The meeting is in the basement.
So once again, make sure you plan that day accordingly. That's June 2nd here in Pittsburgh, where both the city and the county, man, y'all are really in for it that day. CityCast Pittsburgh is sponsored today by Window Nation. Summer is just around the corner, and I don't know about y'all, but I reserve my love of heat for Bloomfield Beach. Once I am home, I want that sweet, sweet AC. Keeping an air conditioner running can be a big expense, especially if you've got old windows in an old Pittsburgh house. You don't have to live that way. Check out Window Nation's Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 Free sale going on right now. So replace all the windows in your house and get half of them for free. Window Nation says they custom build their products so the windows will fit your space perfectly. Plus, you'll get your choice of over 1,500 styles and colors. And the windows come with a lifetime warranty. And they swear by the installation that it all goes down in 1 day or less. The sale ends soon, so consider putting an end to your window problems. Schedule a fast, free consultation now at windownation.com. We've got some neighbor shout outs now, a couple from our CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors.
Our first shout out is coming from Ashley J. She is shouting out Arabica Robusta Coffee House in Homestead. She says that the space has lots of great decor, plenty of seating options, and that the homemade syrups are really delicious and unique. Ashley actually recommended the candied yam latte, which she does say is a fall flavor, but she's getting hyped for it now.
Whoa.
That sounds really good.
I wonder if you can get that anytime. Probably not. I'm sure they make their own syrups and then you can't actually get it.
They are house made. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could ask them, but
Ashley, I'm kind of sad you told me about that I can't have it right now.
Something to get excited for. Something you can have now, Third Space Bakery. This shout out is coming from Duncan L. So Third Space, we've talked about it on the show before, but if you're not familiar, it's a co-op bakery on Penn Avenue in Garfield. And Duncan raved about everything. Bread, pastry, sandwiches, it is all good. And they also have a bunch of cooking classes and workshops in the evening. And Duncan says these are really great for a date night, going out with friends, or just if you want to learn something new by yourself.
We got a lengthy recommendation for Third Space Bakery from a county official this week.
For the khachapuri. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's like this bread boat type thing with a lot of cheese and an egg.
Oh,
yes.
I love khachapuri. It's such a delicious treat.
So Third Space, you got a lot of fans out there.
Thank you. Yeah, Ashley and Duncan.
Yes, thank y'all so much. And if you want to share your favorite local business or nonprofit here on the podcast, your favorite sandwich, your favorite coffee shop, you can do that by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. You're always welcome to send us shout outs. You can send us more than one. We will read them right here, and you can join today at membership.citycast.fm.
And welcome to our newest neighbor, Catherine B. We are so glad to have you, and I will be looking for your shout out. Send it in.
Yep. So we are going to talk now about wins, losses, things to know. We're going to start with an actual loss, which I think we're going to feel a little more deeply later this year. So a lot of Pennsylvania's fruit crops have been fully destroyed by all this weird weather.
Yeah, I noticed this spring that there was a distinct lack of magnolia blooms in Squirrel Hill and elsewhere. And I think that the sort of freeze-thaw cycle we went through in April was really weird. This was the warmest April on record in Pittsburgh, but we had those late freezes. There were some nights where temps fell into the 20s.
It was the swings, man. It was just so uncomfortable. It's like 80 degrees and then there's snow outside. And then it was blazing earlier this week and now I'm freezing. I literally have a space heater in here.
Yeah, this was a really weird week that kind of embodied the spring that we've had so far. But apparently, materially, this is a big loss for the fruit farmers here in our state. WESA reported that there was going to be about $150 to $250 million loss in the state's specialty fruit economy. So that's apples, Simmons Farm and McMurray can't do pick your own peaches. Sorgels in Wexford actually canceled their yearly strawberry festival, which is a bummer. And it also wiped out a bunch of their cherries. So Sorgels is hoping to do some sort of pick your own for strawberries in some more reduced fashion. But PA Governor Josh Shapiro has been actually talking with farmers about potentially using federal government money for emergency assistance here.
Farming is just it's such a marginal business anyway. Like you have to be able to count on your crop to be able to recoup everything that goes into planting it. So I'm hopeful that the state of Pennsylvania can do something about that because it really is an enormous industry here in our state.
Oh, absolutely. But one thing I will recommend if you are still craving peaches, the Peach Truck makes a couple stops in Pittsburgh throughout the summer. They bring their peaches up from Georgia. I've never had it, but if you want a giant truckload or they bring in the truckload, you take 25 pounds, there's still options out there.
I've been so skeptical about this, but I have had multiple friends recommend it to me. It's just I realize that literally all my food arrives to Pittsburgh on a truck, but there's something about this that just feels odd. Also, the quantity. You literally have to purchase it at like 25 or 50 pound increments. That is so many peaches.
I looked last year and yeah, the size of it was the reason I didn't commit. I believe maybe there was a 12-pound option. I'm not sure. I might not be remembering that correctly, but
and maybe they've opened their
see.
offering since I looked a couple of years ago. I don't know. I think we're making the case perhaps for trying this, but getting like a CityCast box, splitting them accordingly.
Try the peaches.
Yeah, split it up. I mean, or if you know a local home brewer, maybe they can use it to make you a beer. There's a great
Colin,
way to,
are you a local home brewer? Are you that friend?
I am a local home brewer, and if I had 15 pounds of peaches or whatever lying around, I would definitely make a peach-flavored sour beer.
Okay, Colin, I feel like we're ordering right now. This is happening.
This is the excuse you needed.
Yeah. We have sort of a win, sort of a loss. I think it's like a good news, bad news situation as it relates to Pittsburgh animals.
Good news, baby lion cub. The pictures have been everywhere over the Pittsburgh internet. It is so cute. This is a cub at the Pittsburgh Zoo. It's the first lion cub in 6 years. She is a girl.
I actually hadn't seen these photos until this moment. This is so cute.
How have you avoided them? I've had them texted to me like all the time, but I guess everyone also knows I'm a cat person.
I was about to say, I think this is just your friends really knowing you, Sophia.
All the photos and videos, too, are further proof that cats are cats. Like, when you watch this little baby just, like, wriggling around, it just looks like any kitten, except maybe when this one grows up, it could kill you.
Yeah, I've been telling Pistachio she has a new cousin.
Aww.
The parents of the lion cubs are Scarlett and Hondo. This is their first cub. And Hondo was specifically brought to the zoo to help with lion breeding because the zoo does, like, a lot of conservation efforts, that kind of thing. The cub is doing well, and she's actually a few weeks old already. She was born on April 5th, so we almost share a birthday. But lately, Scarlett and the cub have been hanging out in the maternity den, but we'll likely be able to see the baby in the summer. The zoo is saying, like, possibly late summer. I am really hoping they do a naming contest. I feel like Pittsburgh loves those. My vote is pierogi, because pierogi, cat.
She's also kind of the color of a pierogi, too.
Yeah.
I really like Francesca's suggestion of Bridget as like named after our city's bridges. I feel like there's some good potential there as well. But a naming contest would be amazing as long as it's not like Liony McLionface or something.
Yeah, I feel like there has to be some veto power if it's just really terrible. They often do them via fundraiser. So like it's sort of a contest, but it's like whoever gives the most money. So that's how we ended up with like a lot of the aviary penguins named the way they are. If you've ever looked and you're like, okay, Crosby, I get, but Princess, that's how that happens.
Help me crowdfund pierogi.
As long as we don't get a baby lion named like PNC Bank, I think we'll be good.
Oh my God. Okay, Sophia, you also have to take the loss part of this.
Okay, so bad news for bird lovers. We have a bunch of eagle cams everywhere, and there are 2 little baby eaglets at the Glen Hazel nest, but unfortunately they have both died, and experts think that it's likely because of the bird flu. The mom eagle is also showing signs of like stress or being sick. There was talk about retrieving the baby birds from the nest and testing them, but that plan has just been nixed because there's a bunch of different risks. Like the PG explained that there could be bird flu exposure, there's the actual risk of climbing the tree, and also just like, stressing the mom out more, making her more sick. But experts and eagle fans / photographers still plan to keep an eye on the adults. So that's via the bird cam, which is still going to stay up at Glen Hazel. Or, people know the adult eagle's favorite fishing spots.
Of course the good news.
Do. Yeah. The good news is that the eaglets at the U.S. Steel plant in West Mifflin are still doing pretty well. So we hopefully will still have plenty of eagles to watch throughout the year.
Yeah, this is great news about the U.S. Steel ones, especially after one of those eaglets actually had been rescued after swallowing a fishing hook. So glad to see those eaglets continuing to survive. And hopefully our eagle population remains robust in the face of this bird flu.
And then just a quick thing to know, the seal on that search warrant that went out against the from the district attorney's office to the city, it's been extended for 30 days. So the mystery continues. We only have a vague idea of what the district attorney was hunting for. There's no information out because it was sealed by a court before it was issued. But then in like a press conference after the fact, DA Stephen Zappala said like, oh, it has to do with federal ARPA money and also how they gave out funding to anti-violence campaigns. So like we have some idea, but like still not all of the idea. I think it's hilarious that this man said this on microphone as part of a press conference after going to the trouble to getting a search warrant sealed.
It's really bizarre that we're sort of relitigating some of this ARPA stuff. There was so much money just sloshing around Pittsburgh at that time, and I'm curious.
It's over $300 million, which is about half of an annual budget.
And is this audit going to be, on how 5,000 of that was spent or on how 5 million of that was spent? Like, as long as the seal persists, like the biggest question I have is like, is this a nothing burger or is this actually a scandal? And the prolonging of the seal, I don't know what that says about that particular issue, but I remain intrigued, but maybe a little skeptical that this is actually like as big of a deal as Zappala has been making it sound.
I think it's possible that it's a both and, but yes, I'm with you, Colin. Looking forward to more answers. For what it's worth, the Post-Gazette did go to a court and try to unseal it, but the court said no. That was back in April, so, remains to be seen.
Your friendly neighborhood journalists will all be waiting with bated breath.
Yes, to tell you whether this matters or not. So that is it for today's show. CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors can stick around to hear what's on our summer bucket list, maybe get a little inspiration for their own because it is Memorial Day weekend. So many things are about to open up and we have thoughts and feelings about the ones that we think are worth your time. A reminder, if you want to hear this, if you want to get our bonus segments, some extra perks like an ad-free feed, some swag sometimes. We've given away a lot of tickets in the last couple of weeks. You can always do that by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. All the details are at membership.citycast.fm. That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. You can support us by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Learn more at membership.citycast.fm. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, Aaron Taylor Waldman, All the Kimonos, Carl Christensen, Jose Bommel, Bonkers Beat Club, Arc de Soleil, and Spring Gang, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lowe produces the show. Francesca DeBecco writes our newsletter. Laura Satsui is our interim social media manager. And I'm your host, Megan Harris. We will be off on Monday in observance of Memorial Day, so we will be back on Tuesday with more from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all.
I'm just saying I'm willing to have a puma behind my house.
I'm sorry, what?
We need more predators in Pittsburgh for the deer. This is my firmly held belief.